Hi, welcome to the Ultimate PSS Education Series. I'm Mal from the Money Study and bringing you another episode. This episode's number 24 and it's all about the pension, a very generous component, dare I say, of the PSS. We're going to find out today how it's calculated and what these things called your pension factors. Before we go into the details, there's the disclaimer: facts and figures, information only, not to be construed as advice. The pension. Look, this pension pays for life. Now, I don't mean your life expectancy. I don't mean some sort of line in the sand. I'm talking about your life. If you live to 115, this thing will continue to pay you till you are indeed 115. So it just keeps on paying, and keeps on paying while you're alive. It's indexed twice a year, in January and July, on the 1st of Jan, 1st of July, and it goes up with the consumer price index. So the last couple of years it's actually been going reasonably well. Now the best part about that indexation also is that if the indexation is 6%, yes, your pension will go up by 6%. If, however, the CPI is -1 because of some sort of depression, recession or whatever, you cannot have a negative CPI adjustment on your PSS. It'll be zero, but you won't get a negative. So you're getting the best of both worlds here. You're getting the increases when it's going well, but you don't get the negative if the economy is really falling through the floor. It reverts to a partner and children. So if you're on a pension and then you pass away, yes, the pension reverts. Now I will be going through death and in a lot of detail, so just hold your questions on that till we come to that section. But yes, it does indeed revert to a partner and eligible children. There is also residual value on death if there are no dependents. So I'm going to go through all of this, but a lot of people really start to panic, thinking, why on earth would I take a pension if I die and within a short couple of years and all my money just disappears? That is not the case. Not the case. The residual capital value, the money, then goes to your estate and would effectively pay non-dependents. Now, of course, we've already sort of worked out that some of this money in our PSS has been funded and some of it's unfunded, meaning some gets taxed along the way and other money doesn't get taxed. So we have a tax liability here, effectively forever for the duration of your pension. Now, that's not to say you're going to have to pay tax forever, but you do have a tax liability because there are things that reduce it, including an offset, which we're going to go through in a lot of detail coming up. But yes, you do have a tax liability forever on a pension, okay? Even post 60. Other super funds, generally speaking, are 100% tax-free from 60, but not the PSS. And don't think that's unfair because everybody else's super fund gets taxed every month along with the earnings. That does not happen on your employer component of your PSS. You only get taxed when you get to take it. And of course, the tax benefits change depending on whether you're underneath your preservation age. Are you over your preservation age but under 60? Are you over 60? The tax changes on the various different ages around this thing called your preservation age. But as I say, we're going to go through tax in a lot of detail. I'm going to give you a lot of examples at different size pensions to get the idea of exactly how you should be calculating this thing and what to keep your eye on. But let's figure out how to calculate our value from our lump of money. Now, oodles of episodes ago, I can't remember which one it was, we finally figured out how to calculate your lump sum value, which by multiplying your FAS by your ABM, and we ended up with a lump of money. And in our example that we used, that person had a lump sum value of $1,177,854 if they were planning to retire at the age of 60, which in the example we used was about 13 and a half years from when they had started doing their calculations. So if this person gets to 60, and that is indeed their lump of money, then to calculate a pension from it, all we literally do is take the lump of money and divide it by a number depending on how old you are at the time you actually take it. So if this person does indeed retire bang on his 60th birthday, they will indeed divide it by 11, and this person's gross pension would then be $107,078 a year gross, meaning that there are still tax liabilities which we're going to go through, but at least we've finally figured out what is the size of our gross pension before we start talking tax. Now, if you decide to do a part pension, part lump of money, then obviously it depends on what split you are doing. But imagine you're doing a 50% split, then all you would literally do would be take half of the lump of money. Now, if you're going to do an 80% split, you'd take 80% of the lump of money and divide it by the pension factor. So in this case, we've decided to take half as pension. Therefore, we take half the money, $588,927. We divide it by the pension factor. He's still going at 60, so we divide that by 11. And his pension would therefore be $53,539. Basically half of the pension had he taken a full pension. And of course, if his pension's only half, he gets to keep the remaining lump sum of $588,927. But of course, there is tax to be paid on the lump sum as well. But we finally got there to figure out what is the size of our gross pension. Now, obviously, we divide by 6. So we'll divide by 11 if we retire at 60, but it's totally different for every age, either side. So if you went indeed at 55, you divide it by 12. If you go at 56, it's basically 11.8. But this thing is prorated down to the day. So if you went at 55 and a half, you would divide it by 11.9, 55 and a quarter, 11.95, and so it goes on. Every single day you delay your retirement, your pension factor is getting smaller. We want it to get smaller because we're going to divide your lump by a smaller number. If we divide by a smaller number, then your pension is actually bigger. The PSS can afford to pay you a bigger pension the older you are, because in theory you won't be living as long. That's the theory. But of course, this whole business where the pension factor is going down by 0.2 every year, it's really got nothing to do per se with your life expectancy or anything like that. I mean, at 12 at 55, we're dividing by 12 at 55. Does that mean you're only going to live 12 years? Of course not. Of course not. Your life expectancy is a lot longer than that. These are numbers created out of the sky, dare I say, by the PSS. Now, if anyone's listening who is an associate member, meaning that you've gone through a marriage split, and I'll be talking about marriage split in a future episode as well, and you're entitled to a pension from your ex-partner's PSS, they have a different range of pension factors. If anyone's interested in those, before I do the session on associate, feel free to email me at admin@themoneystudy.com.au, but they certainly are not as favourable. So if someone is an associate member, just for instance there, if they were female, the difference between male and female, but if this person was a female at 60, their pension factor would be 17.5, a lot bigger than 11. So you can see that an associate membership pension is not as generous as the member's pension. Now, of course, once you've used the pension factor, we don't need them anymore. It's not like that you divide by 11 when you retire at 60, and then when you get to 61, they're going to take your lump of money and divide it by 10.8. No. It literally means that once you've done the calculation, that is the size of your pension going forward, and then it will just simply grow every 6 months with the CPI adjustment. So you're only using these pension factors once at the age you are actually going to retire. Okay, so once you've got a pension, then it literally just grows with CPI adjustment. If there's an example there, I've just sort of shown you there. If someone is indeed going at 56 and a half, then the pension factor would be 11.7. So it's just the calculations are exactly the same. We just use whatever the pension factor is at the age you're going. And if you're going to do a split, exactly the same. If you're going to do a 65% pension, you take 65% of the lump of money and you divide it by that pension factor. So we can do whatever calculation we like, and as often as we like, to try and find out the different size of our pensions, remembering that this is all gross. We've still got to talk tax, but this certainly gives us some idea. You can start doing multiple calculations to say, okay, what about if I took $100,000? $100,000 is a lump of money. Well, subtract the $100,000 off your $1 million, and then you've got a $900,000 to divide by whatever pension factor that you want to use, depending on the age you're going to go at. So you can do multiple sort of scenarios here to see, okay, if I took a lump of money to go on holiday, pay out debt, what would that leave me with? It could be a case if you pay the debt out, you don't need to find the $20,000 or $30,000 a year, whatever it was to pay the mortgage. Yes, your pension would be smaller, but you don't have to pay a mortgage any longer. Or would you be better off to say, look, who cares, I've got a mortgage? If your interest rate on your mortgage is 6%, but we are calculating your pension by perhaps dividing by 11. What's 11? Dividing by 11. That's an 11th. That's 9.1%. You're effectively getting 9.1% on your money by receiving a pension at 60. Could you afford to keep on paying your mortgage out? Does it make sense to keep on paying your mortgage out if you're giving up something that's going to pay you 9.1 to pay down a debt of 6? And so it goes on. So it's a case of looking at all the different options at different ages. We've got to look at taxation, but we've also got to look at what's involved with your overall scenario. I mean, what are your requirements? And what's your life expectancy? Do you have a health issue? And so it goes on. We'll talk about taking pensions and lump sums in a future episode. But look, we finally get back to my little worksheet that we introduced when we were talking about how does your PSS grow. We're going to get back to this worksheet now as we work our way through creating pensions and also working out the taxation. This worksheet will go through how to calculate all the different tax problems we've got to end up, by the time we get to the bottom of this worksheet, you're finally going to see your pension in net fortnightly payments. But basically all we're really going to do there is we go back to our worksheet, and be it whether you were preserved or not, by row 9, you would have had an amount of money in there. Now, that's your lump of money. So we've got your lump of money at the age of your retirement. We've calculated your compounded or your future benefit. And then in row 10, we just put down the pension factor. So if you're planning to go at 60, you put 11 into that row there. And of course, the gross pension, row number 11, is literally taking row 9 and dividing it by row 10. So by the time we get to row 11, our worksheet has now been completed to the point where we can see our gross pension. And as I say, we're going to continue on with a lot of episodes coming up, talking about tax, and dare I say, talking about tax. So please join me on future episodes. And of course, we're here to help you understand this. If you find some of these things, not everybody is an expert on maths. If some of these things your head just starts to spin, look, just book an appointment with us on the homepage of our website, and we can sit down with you, bring your statement, and we can do some calculations for you. Not a problem at all. Look forward to you joining me on future episodes.